Okay, so welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a Q&A video as promised. You know, we did a post on social media and you guys definitely delivered. We had hundreds of questions, so we're going to do his best today to answer them. So I'm joined with Ben, and yeah, I think we should just get dived in.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think first things first, I hope that you all enjoyed Abo's build series. We enjoyed making it, so that was pretty cool. And there is one question that keeps getting asked over and over that I think that we're going to address in this video, but we're going to save it till end. So anybody who wants to know where Josh is and a little bit of information about that, then just stick around and yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the video. But just before we get there, not bad. So yeah, cool.
It's all good.
All's good, yeah.
Lovely, right, so first question. Cold air intake in an RX8, divided opinions, yay or nay?
So cold air intakes do work.
Yeah.
I think I spent 30 odd minutes talking to you all a few weeks ago about how horses for courses and all that. The reality is the Mazda intake is perfectly adequate at its job. It does a really, really good job of doing what it does. So, is there any point in upgrading it? Yeah, there are some. I mean, we've seen minor increases in power from the likes of your AEM intake. Generally speaking, with cold air intakes, and this is talking from experience, not just in the rotary market, but if you are increasing the size of the MAF housing, then you can sometimes, with a tune, obviously, because the MAF needs rescaling, increase power. Bolting an intake on and then not tuning your car is never going to improve power, is never going to give you the drivability that you're looking for. I guess there's divided opinion because there's no straight answer to that question. Would I put an intake on one? Probably not. I probably put the money towards something else nowadays. So, but then, you know, here's a divided opinion for you. I wouldn't even recommend putting a K&N panel filter in one. I find that the problem with K&N panel filters is they've got a sticker on front of the box that says lifetime warranty, and what people read that as is, I can put this in and then never look at it again. But so yeah, quite often they cause more problems than they fix because they come in here 5 years down the line and they've got mice in them, and, and I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? So yeah, just keep your intake clean, make sure your MAF's clean, and yeah, unless you want more noise. So the AEM increases the amount of noise that your car's going to make. But if you've got the right exhaust on it, then whatever.
It'll sing anyway. So next question, what's the hardest or worst job you had to do in an RX8?
God, guys, they're what, 10, 15 years old now. Some of my lads would argue that working on RX8 is hard. Probably steering UJ.
That's what D said when I asked
Steering UJ, the horrible things, and nobody wants to pay for them doing, so that's going to be a worse thing.
Yeah. Best time to do it when the engine's out, would you say?
Well, you've got a little bit more room while the engine's out, so yeah. Good
to know. So how's Felix, the car that was featured on Car Throttle?
As far as I'm aware, he's still okay, isn't he? I think he got sold on the RX8 Owners Club not long ago, so yeah, Felix is cool.
Yeah, man. Okay, this is a weird question. So Bridgeport and emissions test. That was just the question. So.
It's going to fail emissions test. If you're worried about emissions, don't Bridgeport your engine. End of. Full stop. Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get a friendly MOT tester or whatever to let your car through, but if you're thinking about Bridgeports, you're not thinking about the polar bears, guys. Don't stress about the polar bears and Bridgeports.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of questions on the turbo kits for the RX8s. I'm just going to narrow it down. So, you know, when are you putting a turbo kit on the RX8 and when would it be released? Everyone's asking.
I mean, when are we going to put a turbo kit on an RX8? We've done turbo kits on RX8s. We've done bottom mount, we've done Grady, we've done top mount EFRs, we've done turbo kits on RX8s. That's been done. I don't know why the community still thinks that it's like something that can't be done or won't be done, but I I do have, or did have, a plan to make a really sort of basic bottom mount turbo that, you know, will run 6 to 8 psi of boost on a simple log manifold that's cheap. I can't seem to find any fabricators that I can rely on to do the job for me consistently. There's no point as putting the development into chucking a kit together that's then going to be made in 1s and 2s. So if anybody out there knows a good fab shop that's willing to work and do a bit of development with us, then yeah, I mean, I've got the specs, I've got the designs, I've got everything ready to go, and I reckon that we could probably get the turbo onto an RX8, getting them up into the 280, 300 horsepower range for the price of a regular engine rebuild. So I think that something that the community has always needed desperately is that simple turbo kit. But what generally happens is companies go absolutely nuts. Best turbo, best manifold design. They start looking into it way too deep, and what finishes up is an overly expensive kit that's just unviable in the market. So yeah, no, I mean, the thing is you can't put too much boost through them. I mean, did you see the irons out of that supercharged car that were running 300 brake or 300 wheel, was it? Like, absolutely mental car while it worked, but then there were far too much heat build up around the exhaust ports, and unfortunately the irons just didn't last very long at that kind of power level. So if you want to be running like a serious turbo kit with serious boost and serious power in the UK or any country where E85 is not available, then you know, you need to be thinking about some serious cooling modifications and ideally direct port meth injection. So it just starts getting expensive and complicated and race car. Yeah. So if you want a road car turbo kit, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, I can do that. We've got the specs, we've got the designs, I can do it anytime you like. But finding somebody that I can do it with is proven difficult, and we don't have a fab shop, so here's what it is.
There we go. Okay, so the next question is there any evidence of cheap eBay coils causing engine failures, or are they just generally a bad investment?
Hey up, Dan. How are you, mate? Well, like hard evidence of engine failures as a result of dodgy coils? It'd be hard to say, I think, because obviously that sort of stuff happens over a period of time. What I can say is I've seen cars set on fire with cheap coils on them. I've seen cheap coils melt. I've seen cheap eBay coils, or whatever you want to call them, do stuff fail prematurely. I've seen them go on and not work on the day that they get put on, and I mean, I generally just avoid them, but I'm sure that there's people out there who've got little success stories that they could share with us, but why risk it? So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sawn adapters, good or bad for the rotaries?
Oh, guys. What? So in principle, the sawn adapter or any equivalent, what does Rotary Performance call theirs? The clean oil feed adapter. In principle, they're a good idea. Okay, you're injecting clean oil that's designed to burn into your engine. It also enables you to run a synthetic engine oil that's going to do a better job of a mineral-based oil, protecting your engine bearings and whatnot. Yeah. So, good idea, yeah. How do I feel about them personally? Yeah. So, like, I've always stood by it. It's something else to worry about. It's something else to worry about topping up. And frankly, I think that regular oil changes with a good quality, tried and tested engine oil is going to give you the same kind of results. So, sawn adapters, okay. Put it this way: I'll warrant an engine for a customer that's got a sawn adapter fitted. I'm not saying no. Would I put one on my own car? Nah, can't be bothered. So a fad.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's better spend your money elsewhere.
Just regular oil changes. Change that engine oil on a regular basis so that it's clean, and use an oil that you know is going to burn and not leave behind ash deposits. And that's
Man.
Yeah, like I've rebuilt engines, mate, that have done 150,000 miles without a zone adapter. And so, do you need one? I've rebuilt engines that have done 30,000 miles with a zone adapter. I'm not saying that all engines are going to wear out fast with a zone adapter, but honestly, like, the Rotary is that much. It really doesn't care. It just wants looking after, and it might still bite you in the ass. So don't stress too much about it. That's what I'd say about that.
Fair enough. What is your favourite build that you've done?
Man, I've built a lot of cars.
Yeah.
I like Mark Zivtin's car. I think that were a pretty epic build. It wasn't anything overly crazy under the bonnet, but it had some really nice parts bolted onto it, and it's actually coming back. I think you're going to see it with a 3-rotor in it in the not too distant future, certainly this year. So.
Yeah, wicked, man.
Yeah.
This is a question that gets asked everywhere. What oil are you running?
So I use a 1040 Miller's Trident, which is part of their professional range of engine oil. It's cheap.
Yeah.
I've always stood by it, so it's a slightly thicker grade than the 530 that Mazda would recommend. It is a semi-synthetic, which Mazda would. Well, you've read my little thing, haven't you?
Yeah.
Mazda say don't use a semi-synthetic or synthetic oil. But back in 13, 14, we did some testing at Miller's. I used to take samples of oil down, and we found that it was doing what it was supposed to do, and so I just stood by it. I think, what is it, 20 quid a tub or something like that?
Yeah.
You can change it 2 or 3 times a year, and you're still not paying a fortune for oil, and it's good quality engine oil.
Yeah.
It's not that what do they call it? Reused stuff that you get from Tesco's or whatever.
Yeah, not good. Okay, is there any difference in price for an RX7 rebuild compared to an RX8?
If you dropped both engines off here on a pallet and stripped them both, and all of the components were reusable and you could reassemble it, then you might be 2 or 3, 400 quid more expensive for an RX7 engine.
Yep.
Engine out of the car and then back in again. The gasket kit for an RX7 is just astonishingly expensive. You can spend, like a set of turbo gaskets, which have to be replaced, guys, just for the record. Please don't reuse turbo gaskets on an RX7. I think they're coming at like 500-600 quid for the set. So rebuilding an RX7 engine is more expensive by the time you're done than rebuilding an RX8 engine. But it's a more complicated system, the parts are older, and so no and yes is the answer to that question.
Fair enough. Okay, what is your top 3 favourite spoilers to add on an RX8?
Well, add to an RX8. You know me, I'm all about OEM plus, so that's going to have to be the Hoop spoiler, the R3 spoiler, and the Mazda Speed spoiler.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I've got on mine. For those who don't know, it's a Mazda Speed spoiler. Do you reckon RX8s will climb in price like the RX7s did?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like what the EPA is dropping in America right now, and the way that the world's going, forcing us into electric because ice caps and melt. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but whatever. Any cars that survive over the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to go up in value. So I think if you've got a nice clean example of an RX8 and you're not driving it a lot, then tuck it away under a cover somewhere, careful, but not outside, and hope it's still there in 10 years. And I think you might find that it's worth a few quid. Whether or not it's worth as much as an RX7 is another story, but I'm sure that they're going to go up in value.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen it.
The R3s.
I'm going to say, the R3s are getting bonkers. I was buying them for $3.5 grand back in 2015, and nobody wanted them. And now I'm seeing people selling for $8-9 grand with decent low mileage examples. So I think it's happening.
It's happening, man. So this is a big question. I've seen quite a lot of conflict answers online. But with the dyno, do you see any evidence of performance gains between a street prop and a Bridgeport and a standard engine?
Right. So it's a really close call. You know, I've seen some white elephants over the years. I once built an engine for a guy called, we called him Conan. He was an ex-single-seater racer back in 15, 16, and he managed to source an engine that had come out of a crashed car back in 2003, and that had only done, you know, 1,500 miles or so. And he, from his racing experience, was all about compression. He used to talk about things like threading the spark plug holes deeper in so that he could get the spark plug closer to the edge of the rotor and stuff, just to get that little bit more compression. When we put his engine back together in an S1 for his racing, after it had been blueprinted, it put something like 206 wheel horsepower down on the dyno. Now that at the time was unheard of. That's no tuning, mild street port, bonkers compression, I guess, you know, in the 8s, and yeah, it did it. So we've built Bridgeports that have made less than that power with all of the advancement that we've done since then. Now, why? It's hard to say from one engine to the next. So, I mean, you know my views on this now, guys. I'm street port, keep it simple, even leave it stock if you really want to do it. Because like I say, I've seen engines that are blueprinted, put some crazy power down that shouldn't technically be able to do that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, man. So this is like a two-part question, actually. What does Rotary Revs think of the things in development like buying Rotary Performance's low mount turbo kit or semi peripheral port intake?
That's kind of a two-part question. So, like, what the guys at the Ryan brothers, Carl and Scott, are doing down at Rotary Performance, I love it. It's awesome, man. I'm right there with my big finger gloves on, waving around or whatever. I love that somebody's picked up that mantle and the pushing forward with performance development. And I love some of the products that they're bringing out, so that's cool. If they can pull together a low mount turbo kit with that fancy billet manifold that's, well, it looks to me like it's like the compressor housing and the hot side are all part of the same thing. Guys, keep at it, man, please. I love to see it. I can't wait to see the results. The P-port intake and stuff, yeah, I mean, go for it. You know, if it's going to have direct meth injection ports and stuff, then you know, at the end of the day, anything that's good for the rotary market, as far as I'm concerned, is good. So yeah, you know, any development you guys can keep doing, keep it up, and I'll be right there behind you, egging you on. Them new irons that they've just created, you know, like game changer, man. You know, I'm sat here talking about compression, and they roll out and a freshly ground renitrated iron that looks sexy as, mate.
Yeah, man.
I want some of them someday.
So actually, this has just reminded me of a question that I want to ask you.
All right, yeah.
There's a lot of rotary shops out there. Who's your favourite? You know, who do you like?
What, you want me to pick a favourite? Come on.
Put you on the spot here.
I like Kim and Reese down at the Performance shop. We go back a long way. You know, obviously they were a part of LC Rotary prior to TPS, and back in the early days, you know, it wasn't about competition. We weren't competing with each other. We all knew that, you know, I were up north, they were down south. We weren't really, you know, any crossover. You know, we were glad to let each other have it, and that was fine. So, yeah, no, I mean, when we see each other nowadays, we give each other a hug, and it's good to catch up. So just based on character and time, the Performance shop are definitely my favourite. But do you know what? That's not to say that, you know, Essex Rotary, they bring out some pretty cool stuff. We buy off of them occasionally. And Ryan Rotary Performance, you know, they're pushing that envelope, and I like to see it. Then there's the old guys. There's Hurley's. You know, they're still cracking on doing what they do. Carl Hayward rang me up last week or a couple of weeks ago, so he's still about, which is nice to see. Colin Chadwick, I mean, you know, Colin is like he's the king of Rotary, isn't he, in Europe? So no, he comes up in his V8 swap BMW, chopping away with big cam in it, and I'm like, yeah, what a guy, you know. So yeah, if I had to pick a favourite, I like the guys at Performance Shop. Cool. But that's not to say for a second that I don't love the community in general, and I like all the guys that are out there doing the Rotary stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
Wicked, man. Good.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so at what compression is a rebuild recommended if it's driving perfectly fine?
Right, okay, so I've built a lot of engines. I've done even more compression tests, or at least I did a lot when other guys have done a lot working for me or whatever. If a car comes into me and it's not working properly and we do a compression test and it's got low compression, we'll rebuild that engine. Yeah. If a car comes into me and we do a compression test and it's struggled to blow up, a candle out on a cake, and there's no compression there, but it starts and stops hot, just keep driving it, man. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Fuck rebuilding engines that don't need rebuilding. They've got a bad enough reputation without us ripping engines out of cars that don't need rebuilding. So yeah, no, if it works fine, it works fine. Stop bitching.
Yeah. There you go.
Don't stress about compression that much. It's not as big a deal as everybody makes it out to be. I mean, it is for making power, but you've got to understand is when you're cranking an engine over at 250 RPM, you're fully reliant on that starter motor and the springs on the housings. If that engine will start, then yeah, I mean, there's the other side of the argument, isn't there? That like you could be wearing housings out and stuff by forcing an engine to keep going after it's technically worn out and all that crap. But the thing is that you'd start having problems. Yeah. If you were wearing an engine out or an engine was wearing out, then you'd be having problems. You won't be coming in here with a perfectly fine running car, and so yeah. So yeah, that's my take on that, mate. I look at compression test results and I want to see even results across both faces. Yeah. That's what's important to me. Okay. We calculate what the cranking speed is and what actual PSI in compression it's creating. But do you want to say something, Abbo?
No.
You sure? Yeah.
I'm happy to just listen away. It's all good.
All right, cool.
Okay, so where are we at now? Okay, so what would be the best performance upgrade for an RX8? Doesn't have to be engine related.
Proper set of tyres.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're still running an REO 40s, come on. I mean, people took them off when they were new.
Yeah.
Proper set of tyres, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to say that we need to be dropping it a little bit and lowering that centre of gravity and just taking it out of schoolroom mode. But yeah, no, the best thing that you can spend your money on in an RX8, if you want to actually see the results on that stopwatch, proper set of tyres.
Yeah. What tyres would you recommend?
Well, back in the day, it'd been like a set of Federal RSRs for track, but nowadays I think that the best all-round tyre is the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. So we put it on the 1,000 horsepower Mustangs. I snapped a half shaft on Michelin Pilot Sport 4Ss, so they're unbelievable grip, all-weather tyre, game changer. So yeah, if you can stretch to a set of Michelin Pilot Sports, that's the way to go.
Do that, yeah. Okay, so a few people have asked different questions, but I'm going to narrow it down to one on the same topic. What would be your recommended braking procedure for a rebuilt engine, and how would you go about starting one up if you've just rebuilt it?
So yeah, if you've just had a rebuild with a set of Ryan Rotary Performance or brand new irons or resurfaced housings or brand new housings, then the best running procedure that you can do with your new engine is to drive it however you want. Yeah, of course. If you're going to put an engine together with second-hand housings, second-hand irons, I'd give it 400 or 500 miles. But I think that's something that, before you start beating on it, but that's not for the worst thing that you can do is jump in your new engine and then cruise down the motorway for 2.5 hours to get 500 miles in. So
right, okay.
yeah, you need engines. You know, when we build a new engine, the best way to bed in a new engine is to get it on dyno, get it under various load conditions, in and out of load conditions, and yeah, I mean, it's do some research into how an engine beds in. It's a common misconception to think that it's to bed the bearings in. The bearings don't need bedding in. If they've been fit properly, then not fit properly, but if they've been measured and you fit the correct bearings for your E-shaft and what have you, and the rotors, then the bearings are good to go right from day one. They shouldn't touch. There's no such thing as bedding bearings in. The idea is that they are hydrostatic bearings that sit on oil pressure and rely on oil pressure to work. So they should never actually touch anything. They should never bed in. If you're bedding bearings in, guys, they're not going to last very long. That's that. So seals, be that piston rings or side seal, con seals, apex seals. The idea of bedding a seal in, it comes from, people think that it's combustion pressure that gets in behind the seal that presses against the housing or cylinder bore, and that happens when the engine's loaded up. So the idea is that you press the seal against your bore, be that cylinder or housing, hard, generate heat, release, let it cool back down, hard, generate heat, release. If you're bedding into a worn surface, then you're going to need more of that process than you would do if you've got a brand new seal and a brand new housing. So.
Okay, cool. So next question is about premixing, and we were actually chatting about premixing last night.
Has anybody ever seen how top fuel dragsters bed their engines in? They do a 40-minute engine build in pits, and then they go and they do a 10,000 horsepower run in 3.7 seconds down quarter mile. All right, new rings, new pistons half at a time, new spark plugs, new everything, back into pits. They do 8 runs a day. They might go through a couple of engine blocks or whatever, but that's a bedding procedure. So yeah,
just go for it.
Go for it. If you build your engine properly and it's right and it's bored out right and what have you, then just stop fanning about.
Right, so the next question is about premixing. A lot of different angles. Some people have asked.
Sorry guys, did somebody ask how to start a fresh engine?
Yeah,
Okay, so starting a fresh engine, technically you should be able to just turn the key and start it up. You'll see us crank it over a few times first. That's just to get the oil pump primed and get some pressure in the oil system. So that's just make sure your oil system's full. If you've obviously got new coolers on it and what have you, then you're going to need to get more oil in there. So you just try not to start it dry. But we use assembly lubricant when we build an engine, so there's very little risk of an engine starting dry anyway. Get a few seconds.
It actually changes noise, doesn't it, as well as you?
Yeah, of course it does, and that's what all that smoke is that comes out back of all that stuff when you start them up.
So the questions are, Series 2 RX8, premix ratio with factory OMP, even necessary, and just a general premixing in general. So
it's technically not necessary to premix a Series 2 RX8. It's got 3 oil metering pump injection nozzles. It's electronically controlled. It's a pretty robust oil metering system. I would probably still put 50 ml into a tank, just because you can, because a decent premix oil will have some cleaning properties, and you know what, why not? So Series 1s, absolutely you need to be premixing, because I've seen enough banana shaped apex seals to know, enough worn housings around the edges to know that the oil metering system in the Series 1 RX8 isn't doing its job properly. And if you need proof of that, just on the off chance you didn't know, Mazda added a 3rd oil metering injector into the Series 2 RX8 because they obviously identified the problem and they fixed it with a mechanical solution. So premixing, I think we used to say 120 millilitres in a full tank. When we delete the oil metering pump off of the RX7s, we'll put 600 ml into 60 litres. So 200 ml, 20 litres. Cool.
All right, so does pops and bangs flames map destroy your engine?
No.
There we go. No.
I can try and elaborate if you want, but I've got no knowledge of anybody's engines breaking or wearing out any faster because of a crackle overrun calibration. And if you think that it's going to do, then you don't understand how it works. So that's that, yeah.
Would you say you definitely need a decat?
Well, you don't need a decat. You can use your cat and blow it to pieces if you want, but
yeah.
But that's what's going to happen. So yeah.
Okay. Have you ever worked on a Mazda 3 Rotor Cosmo?
I've worked on 20B engines. I haven't worked on a 20B engine in a Cosmo, but I have worked on a 13B RE engine in a Cosmo. So I've seen a Cosmo, I've had one here, but I've never had a 20B Cosmo here.
Yeah, right, fair enough. Okay, so this is a good one. What got you into rotaries, and how long did your first rotary build last?
What got me into rotaries? Well, my mum and dad's nearly bought an RX8 back in 2003 when they were brand spanking new, and they came home. I were a young whippersnapper, and they came home with all these brochures, and I decided there and then I had to have one. It wasn't about the rotary engine, it was about the car.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I got one, or as I got older and I learned more about the car that I wanted, then I found out it had a quirky engine in it, and you know, obviously we all know that that's got an appeal.
Yeah, man. So we're coming up to the last lot of questions now, guys. This is a good one. It's a personal question. Has your love of cars ever been in a way of family? You don't get that?
I don't quite understand the question. My job, working on cars, gets in the way of family all the time, every single bloody day. I'd rather be at home right now, hanging out with my kid. But yeah, I suppose I've gone to car meets and stuff rather than being at home with the family. But then saying that, I can't wait till my young'un grows up a bit and I can take him to car meets. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. Yeah.
Okay. This is a non-related RX8 question. Is it a bad idea to remap a Mark 7 Golf GTD with 90,000 miles on the clock? Is the engine turbo too old and it's likely to pack in?
Nah, them things go forever.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how that question managed on here, but it's
am I here?
Yeah.
I'm here. I am here. How are you, mate?
So, no. Okay.
Why not?
Yeah. Why?
You only live once.
There you go, yeah. Last question. This is the one. Where is Josh?
Joshua Scott, the man.
Everyone's been asking.
Yeah, no, I've seen it everywhere. Well, I mean, yeah, all right then. Well, an official statement, if you like. So Josh no longer works here now. Why is a long story, and there were personal things for Josh involved in that, and I'm not going to discuss those in detail here or even glance over them. He, you know, Josh, he was one of my generals. You know, he worked here for 4 years, and he was a good lad, but he had, like I say, he had personal things going on, and in the end, I suggested that he have a break. Sometimes a break is as good as a rest, so I got him lined up with a job with a friend of mine, doing something completely different, with the intention of us reconvening after a couple of months or whatever, once he decided who and where he wanted to be in his life and what he wanted to do. And you know, there were always a risk that he might decide that, you know, he enjoyed his change, or maybe he wanted to try something else and move on, and he did. So after a while, he moved on. He's gone to work for a good friend of mine at another performance shop, relatively local to us, more local to him, so it's easy for him to get to from work. He'll learn a whole new range of skills there, and you know, me and us in that shop are doing a collab at the moment with 20B install on the Zifton's RX8, and you know, it might well be that that's the shop that we do, if they can find time, because they're busy. That's the shop that we do a turbo build on the RX8 with. So, you know, that just because he's not here, don't mean that it's the end of Josh. No. I'm sure you'll get to see him, and yeah, I'm sure he'll be back in the videos maybe, but obviously not quite as much. Yeah. So yeah, so we and Josh have gone our separate ways, but I still love the guy, and yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that we had this time together, and that's that. So
there we go, guys. So that is a wrap of the Q&A.
Yeah. So
is there anything that you want to add to it?
Big shout out to Josh, man.
Yeah, man.
If you don't mind, maybe dropping a couple of his old brat noises on his videos and that, and yeah.
We're going to be stripping this engine today, 192. We're going for the full bridge.
Man.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, that is a wrap, guys. Anything that you would want to add to the video?
I don't think so, no. I've bought an RX8, so it's going to get delivered next week, specifically for you. So just so that we can do a bit of a series and basically build the car that I talked about being able to build in that first video, and give you an example of the vision that I see for the car. You know, like that OEM Plus type build that's reliable and you can go and beat on, and like we used to do it in the old days, and something that's going to perhaps increase in value, that's not going to be changed too much from the factory car, but is built properly. So yeah,
and affordable as well.
I'm not going to call it a budget build. I mentioned budget build to one of the guys on Facebook, an old customer of mine, and he sent me a link to a Toyo Sport manifold for 90 quid. If he wasn't on the internet, I'd have thrown it at him. That's not what I mean by budget. I mean realistic budget build. And so you know, I've got a guy, a new starter, Ben, who's an experienced technician. I'm going to do a bit of I'm going to teach him Rotary RX8 engine, and we'll do a series on that journey with that car for you guys to watch and enjoy. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled and you'll get to see it. I think what we plan on doing it as part of a workshop tour. We'll introduce it.
Yeah, so some of you guys have asked as well for a workshop tour and all the facilities that we use. So you get a sneak preview of the car, sat in the corner somewhere, and then we'll just go from there. So yeah, we've got a wicked series coming up. Make sure you are subscribed for that. And anything to help grow the channel, so like, shares and comments, it helps massively. And guys, we'll look forward to see you in the next video.
Yeah, bro, nice one. Cheers guys, see you later.